الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, to proceed. Today's lesson, the first one, we need to briefly explain the rule regarding al-adadu, which means the number, particularly because the next few stories all contain numbers. So you need to understand how numbers work. Now, because there are several rules relating to numbers, it can be confusing. So we don't explain all the rules together, we divide it so it becomes more manageable. So the first number that we explain is 1. How to describe or to say one of something. And 1 is the easiest one. Why? Because in order to say one book, we say Kitabun. Kitabun means one book. Right, Arjan? That's simple, isn't it? Kitabun indicates that it is one book. However, as Muhammad correctly stated, if you say Kitabun Wahidun, then that too means one book. So what's the difference between Kitabun and Kitabun Wahidun?
Is Kitabun a book and Kitabun Wahidun is one book?
Well, Kitabun does mean a book, but it also refers to one book. Wahidun means one, but Wahidun here is a sifatun or a na'tun of Kitabun, which is an ismun, a noun. So the relationship between Wahidun and Kitabun is that of a sifatun, an adjective or a description of a noun. Just that we've already discussed before. Waladun tawilun, a tall boy. Right? Kitabun thakilun, a heavy book, and so on and so forth. So Wahidun here, even though it means one, its relationship with Kitabun is that of a sifatun and a mawsufun, an adjective and an ismun that it is described. So therefore, because if it is that type of relationship, remember the rules of agreement between a sifatun and the ismun that it describes in 4 matters. It must agree. What are those 4 matters?
Gender, definite, number, the number it comes in, and
it's i'rabun, its state. Right? So Kitabun Wahidun, Kitabun here, Ya Rajan, is in what state?
Marfu'un.
Excellent. Marfu'un. Right? It's marfu'un. So therefore Wahidun, being a sifatun of Kitabun, must also be marfu'un. If we now want to render Kitabun mansubun, how would we do it, Ya Rajan? One method in order to do that. Anyone that we've already discussed.
add a verb.
Right, we had a fi'lun, a verb, such as
Kataba.
kataba, right? Kataba. What does kataba mean, Ya Rajan?
He wrote.
He wrote. So, if we now say that kataba is he wrote, kataba is fi'lun madin, مبني على الفتح, fixed upon the fatha, right? وفاعله, its fa'il is
the he is hidden.
is ضمير مستتر, a hidden pronoun, تقديره هو. Right, we assume it to be هو, there. So if now كتب is a fi'lun, هو is a fa'ilun, what therefore is kitabun ya rajanu?
مفعول.
Maf'ulun bihi. It's the object, and therefore it is, it's a mansubun, and the indicator for it being mansubun is
Fatha.
the fatha. Well, in this case, it's going to be tanweenu fatha. Kitaban. And therefore, how does wahidun change?
They follow the same pattern as the previous one.
It follows the same, doesn't it? Why? Because it's the relationship of a sifatun and mawsufun. Therefore, it must agree with it in...
The four traits.
Right, it must agree with it. It does agree with it in all of them except one, which is the i'rabun, the state. We cannot say wahidun. We now must say wahidan. Right, John? So kataba kitaban wahidan, which means
He wrote one book.
he wrote one book. Right? Similarly, if we wanted to say in one book, then Ya Rajanu, what do we place here? Fi. And how do we change kitaban and wahidan?
Kitabin.
Kitabin
Wahidi.
wahidin. Fi kitabin wahidin. So now we have a harfu jar, and we have ismu, an ismu which is majrurun, right? And then we have a sifatun which follows kitabin in its i'rab, because it must agree with it in the i'rab. Right? So those are the three states. So wahidun, or expressing one book, is very simple in Arabic. Similarly, if it was a female ismun, such as shajaratun. What does shajaratun mean?
A tree.
A tree. So shajaratun means a tree, and it also means one tree. But if we wanted to explicitly state one by adding a sifatun, we would say shajaratun wahidatun. Wahidatun. Right? And similarly, if we wanted to make shajaratun mansubun, and we introduced a fi'lun, for example, I saw, how do we say I saw?
Ra'aytu.
Ra'aytu. Ra'aytu. So if we're now going to say Ra'aytu, which is I saw, Ya Rajanu, what happens to shajaratun?
They change it to mansub mistake.
Why?
Is that the that then becomes a maf'ulun bihi?
Yes, because it's a maf'ulun bihi. It's the object of ra'aytu, what I saw. So it becomes shajaratan here.
Wahidatan.
Wahidatan. So رأيت is فعل ماض. Here it's مبني على السكون, fixed upon the sukun. The ta here is
The feminine.
the fa'ilun. Right? That's the doer, isn't it? Refers to me. شجرة is a مفعول به. وعلامة نسبه, the indicator of it being منصوب is تنوين فتح. Okay? على آخره, upon the end. واحدة is the na'tun or the sifatun of shajaratan, and therefore from the rules of following an agreement it must be mansubun. And similarly, if we wanted to say upon one tree, we would say ala shajaratin wahidatin. So now we have a harfu jarrin, we have an ism which is majrurun, and wahidatin that follows it. So wahidun or wahidatun, the female, is simple, right? The next one is two, al-muthanna, the dual, or al-ithnani, the number two. How do we therefore express two books? Kitabani. Kitabani. Do you remember when we did the dual? To make the dual from al-mufrad, the singular, we add the alif and the noon. So we go from kitabun to kitabani. Right? So here, the indicator of al-muthanna, the indicator is the alif. Right? It's the alif. So, if we now want to say two books, we have two choices. Either kitabani or kitabani ithnani. Ithnani means two. Right? Kitabani ithnani, two books. But here, the two again is a sifatun. It's an adjective. It's not needed, but in order to explicitly state two books, we write it in this way. Kitabani ithnani. So, Ya Rajanu, what state is kitabani in?
Majrurun.
Majrurun.
No, sorry. Kitabani in. Marfu state.
Marfu'un. How do we know it's a marfu'un?
It's the alif, it's in the ya. Is that wrong?
No, because? How do we know it's marfu'un? Because alamatu raf'ihi, the indicator of it being marfu'un here, is now not the kasra. It is the alif. That's the indicator of it being marfu'un, right? The alif here. So remember, in that al-muthanna, in the dual, you don't look for the state in the last letter. You look for it in the alif, or the other state that it can be in is, so kitabani thanani is a marfu'un state, it means two books. If we wanted to say I read two books, what's he, he read two books is? Qara'a. Well, the verb is qara'a, he read. In fact, we'll Say she read. قرأت. How do we say now? 2 books.
كتابين.
Right. We say كتابين اثنين. We could stop there too, because that would mean 2 books. But if we wanted to carry on, we would say اثنين. قرأت كتابين اثنين. So now, قرأت is فعل ماض. Okay. مبني على الفتح. The ta is ta'nith. The ta of it being female. That's what indicates the female fa'il. The ta with the sukuna. Kitabaini is now the maf'ulun bihi. Right? Kitabaini maf'ulun bihi. Wa alamatu nasbihi, the indicator for being mansubun is? Ya arjanu.
منصوب ليش؟
Yeah, what's the indicator? Alamatu nasbihi.
ديا.
The ya. That is now the indicator, right? Not the fatha that's usually upon an ismun. Adithanaini is the sifatun that must agree with the ismun which it is describing. Right? But we've done this before in al-muthanna, right? So it shouldn't be strange to you. It's just that we're now explicitly stating the 2. Similarly, if we wanted to say in 2 books, we would say Ya Arjanu.
Is ila in.
No, ila is 2.
Fi in. Sorry if you used it before. Fi.
Sorry?
Fi.
Fi. Fi. And then?
كتابين.
كتابين اثنين. Right? So fi is a harfu jarrin. Kitabaini is the ismun, which is majrurun. Why is it majrurun ya Arjanu?
Because of the fi.
Because of the fi that precedes it, yajurruhu. And then ithnaini is a sifatun. So what's alamatu jarrihi on kitabaini?
The ya.
The ya. It's the same, right? So for the fatha and the kasra, the substitute is the ya in al-muthanna, in the dual. Right? So number 1 and 2, wahidun and ithnani, are simple. I mean, the rest are simple too, but there's a different rule for the others. So is this clear? Ya Muhammad.
Question.
Yes. قرأت.
Should kitab mainly be female, or it doesn't matter if it's at the start?
Right. This is a common question. Right. This is a very common question. Because قرأت means she read. So students often wonder, well, why is it that we're not using a female ismun? Right? But the issue here is that kitabun itself is mudhakkarun. It's a male ismun, a male noun. There is no female kitabun. So there isn't a word called kitabatun.
It's originally a male word.
Yes. Its origin is being a male word. There is no female equivalent of kitabun.
Okay, so you can't.
Right? That's one point. Just like when we wrote shajaratun. Shajaratun is a female word. There's no male version of shajaratun.
Also,
Right?
there's only some words you can change.
Yes, there are only certain words that can become mu'annath, female, by adding a ta marbuta.
Like
There's only certain ones, such as
teacher.
mu'allimun mu'allimatun, talibun talibatun, muhandisun muhandisatun. There's quite a few, but these are not them. Right? That's the first point. And secondly, it's not relevant, the fact that our doer, our fa'ilun is female, that the ismun should be female too. There's no connection, there's no rule of agreement that states if you're a female doer, that action can only fall upon a female verb. You understand?
Yes.
Because there's no connection between them. I can, for example, I can read. The verb I read is qara'tu. Qara'tu. I can say qara'tu kitaban. I read a book. And I can say qara'tu jaridatan. I read a newspaper. And I can say qara'tu al-Qur'ana. I read al-Qur'ana. And I can say qara'tu maqalatan. I read an essay. Maqalatan and jaridatan are both female. Kitaban al-Qur'ana are both male. There's no relevance or restriction to what I can read.
Okay. Good. Barakallahu.
Right? But it's actually quite a common question there. But yeah, the agreement is only between adjectives and nouns, and, as one of the brothers commented on one of the other lessons, in Jumlatul Ismiyah, al-khabaru and al-mubtada'u, they have to be in agreement except with regards to definiteness. So for example, al-kitabu kabirun. Right? Al-kitabu, the book, kabirun, is large. If you wanted to say the two books are large, you would say al-kitabani kabirani. So they have to agree in those four matters except one, which is definiteness. Why? Because al-khabaru in its default state is indefinite, whereas al-mubtada'u in its default state is definite, isn't it? Al-waladu tawilun, at-talibu jalisun. In all of these examples, al-mubtada'u is ma'rifatun, is definite, isn't it, with al, whereas al-khabaru is indefinite with tanweenu dammin on the end. That's the normal state. So we've done 1 and 2, wahidun and ithnani. Now from 3 to 10. Okay. Thalathun to ashrun. So this is important now, because there's a different rule for 3 to 10. And that is, and this occurs straight away in our next story, that the relationship between the two is now an idafatun, not an ismun or mawsufun sifatun. It's not that. It's an idafatun. So if we want to say 3 cars.
So you'd say
Okay. We would say
Salathu
Salathu.
what's called it? Siyaratin.
Right. Sayaratin. Thalathu sayaratin. Okay. So, as I said, first of all, it's an idafatun. So there are 4 rules relating to an idafa, isn't there? Okay. Rajan. Remember that the mudafun, which is the first ismun, the mudafun, that can be in all 3 states, can't it? It can be marfu'un with a dhamma, mansubun with a fatha, and majrurun with a kasra. Remember? But it can't take al. You can never place al on a mudafun, can you?
No.
Right? The second noun, the mudafun ilayhi, what state is that always in? Majrurun. It's a majrurun, right? That's the easy one. And the second one is that it does take the al. Okay? So that's important to remember. Now, Salathu sayaratin means 3 cars. So what we must remember after the fact that this is an idafatun is that sayaratin is a plural word. It's a jam'un, plural. The singular of sayaratin is sayaratun. If it's a marfu'un, sayaratun. This is the plural, sayaratin. Okay? I wanted to use shajaratun. The reason why I didn't is because the plural, or one of the plurals of shajaratun, is ashjarun. So we go from shajaratun to ashjarun. The other plural is shajarun, and then the student becomes confused. Why? Because he looks at it and he thinks, well, that looks like a male word. It doesn't it? So they think, well, how is that possible? But remember, the singular is shajaratun. Shajaratun, right? But the plural is a shajarun, but it's still a female word, even though there's no ta marboot on the end, or there isn't this arti, which is the sound female plural. Remember that lesson? So, after acknowledging that this is an idafatun and that the ismun is plural, the next rule that you have to remember is that the number is the opposite gender of the ismun that it's counting. So the ismun which is counting, is that mudhakkarun am mu'annath? Mu'annathun, it's female, right? So if it is female, then your number must be male, right?
Is there a reason for that? Or?
That's the rule, Ya Muhammad. Right? That's the rule. Okay? Like the ayah in Surah Al-A'raf, إن ربكم الله الذي خلق السماوات والأرض في 6 أيام. Right, we'll come back to that in a moment. But So ثلاث سيارات, 3 cars. Okay, if we want to say 3 books, then the easy bit is books. What is the plural of books?
كتب.
I mean, what's the word for books? Kutubun. Singular kitabun. Plural is? Right, yeah, original. Kutubun. Kutubun. Right? But we're going to have to say 3.
ثلاث.
So remember, first of all, it's going to be an idafa construct. Secondly, it's going to be the opposite gender of the ismun that you're counting. The number is going to be the opposite gender. So kutubun, is that a male or a female word, ya Rajanu?
Male word.
Male word. So the number is going to be
Female.
female. Right, you've got it. It's not that complicated really, is it? The opposite. But you'll be surprised how difficult that can be. So what's the female version of thalathu?
ثلاثة.
Thalathatu. Right? Thalathatu. So what's wrong with this now?
It needs to be the kutub.
Mansoor.
Does it need to be majroor? I mean,
What needs to be majrur?
the kutub one.
Right, why? Why must it be majrurun?
Because to follow the previous.
Because in an idafatun, the mudafun ilayhi is always majrurun.
Okay.
Right? It's always majrurun. So you say thalathatu kutubin. Right? Arjan?
Yeah.
So now thalathatu kutubin is exactly like thalathu sayaratin, except that this is male 3 and that's a female plural. This is female 3 and that's a male plural. Right? So what state is thalathu and thalathatu in? Marfu'un. وَلَامَةُ رَفْئِهِ
ضمة.
الضمة. Right? علامة رفعه الضمة الظاهرة على آخره. The dhamma which is upon the end. So if we wanted to say he bought 3 cars, how would we say it? اشترى. اشترى. He bought. Okay? If we wanted to say she bought 3 books, we would say, or John?
She bought.
Yeah.
Ishtara 2.
No, not that.
Sorry, ishtarati.
اشترت. 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 It would only be, that would only become a kasra if there was an al and we had to connect them. Remember, that's when it becomes a kasra. Right, so what's wrong with this now? There's a mistake on each one of these lines.
The maf'ulun is marfu'un instead of maf'ulun.
Right. The maf'ulun bihi is marfu'un and it should be mansubun. Because this is now the object, isn't it? So, Ya Muhammad, perform the i'rab of the first sentence. Exactly how you've been hearing it.
اشترى ثلاث سيارات.
No, you just read it. I asked you to say the i'rabun, not read it.
Oh, what do you mean, sorry?
It's like اشترى مفعول بالضمة.
Yeah, but ishtara is a fi'lun. Isn't it? It's not maf'ul. Ishtara, ya Muhammad, fi'lun madin.
فعل ماضي نعم.
Right?
علامة بالضمة كسرة فتحة.
No. You're thinking about thalatha,
Yeah, no.
right? But ishtara ends with alif maqsura, right? So it's mabniyun. Ishtara is mabniyun al-fathi, right? Ishtara is mabniyun al-fathi, but is it al-dhahira? Is it apparent?
No.
No, it's not apparent, is it? It's not al-dhahiratu. What is it?
It's assumed.
It's al-muqaddaratu. Remember, it's assumed to be there. We assume the fatha to be there. It's al-muqaddaratu.
هذا ألف مكسورة.
Yes, because it's alif maqsura and it cannot take a harakatun, right, upon it. So it's assumed to be there. Right. وَفَاعِلُهُ, and its fa'il is?
Single.
What do you mean, single? فَاعِلُهُ
Oh, it's
ضَمِيرٌ
هو.
مُسْتَتِرٌ
هو.
تَقْدِيرُهُ هُوَ. It's assumed to be huwa, isn't it, Orijan? Huwa. Right, Ya Mansur. Now, thalatha is the maf'ulun bihi. Walamatu nasbihi al-fathatu al-dhahiratu ala akhirihi. A fatha upon the end, isn't it? Wa huwa mudafun. And it's also mudafun, isn't it?
مضاف. Yeah.
Right? Why? Because siyaratin is mudafun ilayhi, isn't it? And it's majrurun. Walamatu jarrihi tanweenu kasrin. Right? Tanweenu kasrin, two kasra on the end. Similarly here, ishtarat. Try this one, Ya Muhammad. Now you've been through it once.
اشترت is the fa'ilun.
What? The fi'lun, madin.
Madin. Obviously it's fixed upon the jazm.
No. Mabniyun al-fathi.
Oh, it's fixed upon the... Oh, that's the fa'ilun.
It's mabniyun of litisalihi bita'i at-ta'nith. It's connected with the ta'u ta'nith.
Which is the fa'ilun.
Which represents
The
she.
here.
Here.
Here. Then?
Here. And then thalatha ta is obviously the maf'ul bihi, which is indicated by the fatha. And it's also the idafa, in the idafa construct, the kutubin is the idafa ilayhi.
Mudafun ilayhi.
Mudafun ilayhi, and it's indicated by the tanween kasrin.
Right. Good. Okay. So that's the mansubun state. Wanted to mention the majrurun state, then we just simply add, for example, a harfu jar like ala, aw, and fi. And now what's wrong with it, Ya Rajan?
Is it Salathe should be Salasi?
Yes, there should be Thalathi and Thalathati. Okay. So we have Jarun wa Majrurun in both instances. Jarun wa Majrurun. Both Majrurun Mudafun, and then we have Mudafun alayhi in both instances. Wa alamatu jarrihi tanweenu kasra. Right, exactly the same. So that is 3. 4 is so we want to say 4 female students.
Arbaun, is it? What's the word? Number.
Well, arba'un is 4 and arba'atun is 4 female. So 4 female students is
Arbaun talibatin. Arba'u talibatin.
Very good, mashallah, ya Muhammad. Talibatin. Talibatin is
Female.
Female students.
Plural.
Talibatin is a female word. Plural. Students, female students. Therefore, arba'u, we have to use the male version of 4 because they have to be opposite. Right? Similarly, if we wanted to say 4 male students, we would say Arjan. And don't copy Muhammad when he's wrong. Arba'a.
Taliban.
What do we place upon the ta? A fatha. Why would it be mansubun?
It's Dhamma.
A dhamma. Arba'atu.
Talibatun.
No, we now have to say male students.
Talibatan.
No, what's a single male student? Talibun. Students is therefore tullabun. So they say tullabun. It's an idafa, ya Rajal. Tullabin. Okay. Arba'u talibatin and arba'atu tullabin. Okay, so if we wanted to say 4 female students attended the class, how would we say it? What's going to come first? Attended, good, ya Rajan. That's good. Attended comes first because attended is a fi'lun, and we're going to begin with the fi'lun in accordance with the rules of al-jumlatul fi'liyah. So what's the word for he attended? Muhammad. Hadara is he attended. Hadara. So what's
Hadarat.
Hadarat. Right. Alhamdulillah, you've learnt that one, ya Rajan. Hadarat. 4 female students attended the lesson. This is the easy bit. The lesson becomes Ad-darsa. Why is this mansubun ya Mansuru?
Is it? Because this is the subject.
It's not the subject, is it? The fa'ilun is always a marfu'un and the fa'ilun is here.
The subject is maf'ul ism jumla.
It's because it's got the kasra. It's
There is no qasra here.
No.
There's a fatha.
fatha. Mansoob.
It's a mansubun because it's the
Maf'ul bihi.
maf'ulun bihi, right?
Yeah, maf'ul.
Hadarat rather. Hadarat, she attended. What did she attend? Remember, the easy way to answer the question of who did it and what they did is to ask who did it. So Hadarat, she attended. Who attended? 4 students. Now don't be confused over which one is the fa'ilun. Because the fa'ilun is always marfu'un. So it can't possibly be talibatin, can it? Because talibatin is a majrurun. So it must be arba'u, 4. Talibatin is a mudafun ilayhi. It's connected to arba'u. Right? A darsa, similarly the question of which one is a maf'ulun bihi. Well, ask yourself the question, she attended what? What was it that she attended? She attended a darsa, the lesson, right? Remember the definition of the maf'ulun bihi, ma waqa alayhi al-fi'lu. What has al-fi'lu acted upon? A darsa. Right? Similarly, if we wanted to say 4 students visited the teacher, how do we say it? What's going to come first, Ya Rijal?
Visited.
MashaAllah. Visited, right, you've got that bit. So what's he visited in Arabic? Zara. Zara arba'atu tullabin. The teacher.
Muallim.
Al-muallim. Right, al-muallima. So now, Ya Mansur, which one is the fa'ilun?
That's the 2.
Sorry?
Is visited. The fa'ilun, the 2.
That's the fi'lun.
No, that's a fi'lun, Zara. The fa'ilun is always
The one before
the one who did it.
the 4 students.
The 4.
The 4.
Okay, 4, not students. Tulabin is mudafun ilayhi. The fa'ilun is arba'atu. So therefore the maf'ulun bihi is
Muallim.
al-muallima. Right? And similarly, if we want to make that arba'u and arba'atu majrurun, we just add a harfu jar. So that is 4. 5. So how do we say
Khamsu.
5 girls?
Khamsu.
Khamsu. So khamsu is 5. Is that a male 5 or a female 5, ya Rajanu?
Male.
Male. How do we know it's going to be a male 5? Because?
The word after is female.
Right, because the word after is female. So girls, the singular is bintun. The plural is?
Binta, it.
Banatun. So,
Banatin.
banatin. Khamsu banatin. Right? Khamsu banatin. Right? So if we wanted to say 5 boys, we say Arjan, Anta.
Sorry, 5 boys.
Yes. The first bit should be easy.
To make it female.
Yes. Khamsa. 2. Right, that's the easy bit. And then after that, what's a boy? Waladun. Waladun. So what's boys plural?
Waladu. Waladun.
Awladun. So it's going to be awladin. Khamsatu. Awladin. Okay. Khamsu banatin and khamsatu awladin. Then we have 6. Six nights. Laylatun. Laylatun is
Female.
Female night, so it'll be a male. 6.
Sittu. Sittu layalin. Sittu layalin.
Is that nights plural?
Yes. Sittu layalin. Right?
Is it to male, the check?
Yeah. Because layalin is female. Laylatun is a single night. So if I wanted to say 6 days, we say
Sittatu naharati.
no, that's a daytime.
Or
Sittatu. Sittatu. What's the plural of yawmun?
Yamin.
Ayyamun. So it becomes ayyamin. Right? Like the ayah in Surah Al-A'raf, خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ خَلَقَ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ في يا رجال في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش. Right? 6 أيام. So then we have 7. What? 7 is sab'un and sab'atun. Okay, so I wanted to say 7 tables laden with food, i.e. the plural of ma'idatun. So it says sab'u mawa'idu. Mawa'idi. Sab'u mawa'idi. Right? If I wanted to say 7 doors, ya rajanu.
Doors, actually that male word should be sab'atu.
Good. Sab'atu. Sab'atu.
Plural for doors.
Babun. Babun is a door. Babun. So what's the doors? Abwabun. Abwabun. Right, sab'atu abwabun. Is that correct, Ya Mansoor?
Should it be a wabin?
Never answer a question with shouldn't it be. You should say it with certainty. So it should be abwabin. You know it's definitely going to be majrurun because it's the mudafun ilayhi, and the mudafun ilayhi is always majrurun. Okay? So if you want to say I opened 7 doors.
Fataha is open.
Fataha is he opened. I opened is
Fa.
Fatahtu. Fatahtu sab'ata abwabin. Okay? If you wanted to say I ate from 7 tables laden with food. Akaltu.
Sab'a.
Not that I ate 7 tables, I ate from.
Akaltu
min. Akaltu min sab'i mawa'idi. Right? Yes. Harf jar makes it majrurun. Right? Then we have 8.
What was 7 again, sorry?
Sab'un.
Sab'un. Sittatun. No.
Sittatun 6.
Thamani. Now, 8 is slightly different. So we're going to do the female version of 8 first. Thamaniyatu. Thamaniyatu. Right? Thamaniyatu is the female version of 8. Okay, in an idafa, of course. Ordinarily it would be thamaniyatu. So thamaniyatu, 8 pens. Thamaniyatu aqla min. Thamaniyatu aqla min. Okay. Now, because 8 in Arabic, it's from a weak ismun, right? So there's an issue with the way that it's formed. So even in its marfu'un state, it is ثماني. Okay. It's ثماني here. So if we wanted to say, okay, 8 mothers, for example, what's the singular of mother? Ummun. The plural is?
Noun.
Ummu Hatin. Thamani ummuhatin. So even in its marfu'un state, it is thamani ummuhatin.
Already majroor. No.
Well, no, it's not majroor. It's always in that state, thamani, except when it is the maf'ulun bihi, or it needs to be in the mansubun state. Then it becomes thamaniya. So for example here, in its marfu'un state we say thamani ummuhatin. Okay? If you wanted to say, for example, 8 mothers came. No, right, yeah. If we want to say 8 mothers came, we say Ja'at Thamani ummuhatin. Okay? Right? If you wanted to say 8 pens wrote, you would say Katabat Thamaniyatu Aqlamin. In both of these instances, 8, Thamani and Thamaniyatu are marfu'un. Right? Both are marfu'un. Because they're both the Marjan? The fa'ilun. It's the doer, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, because Thamani, 8 mothers came. Thamaniyatu aqlamin, 8 pens, katabat wrote. Right? So, Thamaniyatu and Thamani are both marfu'un. I mean, they're both the fa'ilun. Right? Here, we don't say that alamatu raf'ihi is a dhamma, do we? We said that the alamatu raf'ihi here is the kasra, which is deputizing for the dhamma. That's all we say. You say yanubu anhu, that it's deputizing for, it's taking its place. But here it is a dhamma, al-dhahiratu al-akhirih, isn't it? But the point to note is here it's in the marfu'un state. But what if we wanted to make it the maf'ulun bihi? Okay? And you wanted to say, I honoured 8 mothers. How do you say I honoured? Akramtu. Akramtu. Now, we can't say thamani. We say thamaniya. Thamaniya. Akramtu thamaniya ummuhatin. I broke 8 pens. Kasaratu. Here it would be ya rajanu. Kasaratu. No, you do know ya rajan. It's kasaratu.
Yeah.
I broke.
Yeah.
Remember, we ask ourselves 2 questions. Who broke it? I. Ta al-fa'ilu. Right? That's me. What did I break?
The pen.
8.
8 pens.
ثمانية.
So, ثمانية.
Ta.
Ta. Don't need to look so worried saying that, Ya Rajanu. You know that the maf'ulun bihi is always
Mansub.
منصوبا كسرت ثمانية أقلام. Okay, right, so that's now the mansuban state. So what remains? The majrurun. From 8 mothers. Okay, min. Now we go back to ثماني. ثماني أمهات. Right? And here be with بثمانية بثمانية أقلام. That's in the majrurun state, right? So thamani, you have to remember that it can either be thamani or it can be thamaniya if it's going to be in the mansuban state.
No, ثماني. What position is it in? So is it lafdi? Is it taqdiri?
No, it's going to be.
So this position, you would say that the kasra at the end is indicating that it's a majrurun.
Yes. But if, like as I mentioned, if that was the fa'ilun and it still had a kasra, we would say that the kasra is deputizing for the dhamma. So 2 remain. After 8 is Ya Rajanu.
9.
That's a nice easy question, that, isn't it? What comes after 8? So what's a 9?
Satta. No.
Tis'a. So 9 mothers is?
Sitta. Sittatu.
9.
Oh, sitta.
Tis'u ummuhatin. And 9 pens is? Tis'atu aqlamin. Okay? And this changes as normal, so it would become, if you said I saw 9 mothers, it would be ra'aytu tis'a ummuhatin. And if you wanted to say
3 to 7, this one.
Sorry?
9 is the same as 3 to 7. Like it's follow the same pattern.
Yeah, 3 to 10 are all the same.
Except 8.
Except 8, which is slightly different, but only in the male version.
Okay.
Okay? But 3 to 10, thalathun ila ashurun, are all the same. So I saw 9 mothers would be ra'aytu tis'a ummuhatin, and I broke 9 pens would be kasaratu tis'ata aqlamin. Okay, and then that leaves the last one, which is Ya Rajanu, 10. Then we have the final one, which is Ash'arun, or 10. So, in order to say therefore 10 mothers, we say Ash'aru ummuhatin. Ash'aru ummuhatin. So ummuhatin is a female, plural, and therefore Ash'aru has to be the male 10 number. Similarly, because aqlamin is a plural male ismun, noun, therefore in order to say 10 pens, we must use the female version of 10, which is ashratu. Ashratu aqlamin. So we have ashru ummuhatin, which we know is an idafatun, the mudafun and mudafun ilayhi. If we wanted to say, therefore, I saw 10 mothers, we would say ra'aytu, I saw. Ashra, ashra becomes mansubun. Ummuhatin stays the same because the mudafun ilayhi is always majrurun. Similarly, if we wanted to say with 10 mothers, we could say bi or ma'a ashri ummuhatin, and ashri would become majrurun. Would become majrurun with bi, and it would become majrurun with ma'a, because with ma'a it would be a mudafun, mudafun ilayhi, mudafun and mudafun ilayhi. Similarly here, ashratu aqlamin, 10 pens. If we wanted to say I purchased, I bought 10 pens, we would say ishtaraytu ashrata aqlamin. So ashrata would become mansubun because it is then the maf'ulun bihi, and the maf'ulun bihi is always mansubun. And if we wanted to make ashratu ashrati majrurun, we would say, for example, with bi ashrati aqlamin. So that therefore is 10. These are the rules for 1 to 10. It's important to remember these because it changes for 11 and 12, then from 13 to 19. Then it changes from 20, 30 and 40, right? And those in between. Not a great deal, but it just changes. But when you do it in stages and then you master it and remember it, then it becomes easy, inshallah. Right? Any questions? What time is it now, Muhammad?
9:15.
Alright. We'll start the lesson, start the story in the next lesson, inshallah. We'll conclude. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.